Hello there, this is the 6th edition on News Central TV, broadcasting live from our studio in Abuja. Welcome, I'm Neota Igbe, and here are the top stories. President Tinubu seeks National Assembly's approval of the 2026-2028 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework Fiscal Strategy Paper. Nigeria intensifies diplomatic efforts to secure release of soldiers and C-130 military aircraft currently held in Burkina Faso. And Ghana reports its release in retaliation for alleged mistreatment of its nationals. We've got details in a moment. Stay with us. The 6th edition begins with news from the Legislative Chamber. President Bola Tinubu has asked lawmakers to approve the 2026-2028 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework as the MTEF and Fiscal Strategy Paper. The Deputy Senate President, Barau Jibrin, read President Tinubu's letter during plenary in the Senate on Thursday. The President said he transmitted a document for the kind consideration and approval of the distinguished senators. He asked that the MTEF, the 2026-2028 MTEF and FSP be approved at the Federal Executive, were already approved at the Federal Executive Council on December the 3rd, and that the budget will be prepared based on the fiscal assumptions and parameters contained in the approved document. He asked the lawmakers for expeditious legislative action on the submission.
The 2026-2028 MTEF and FSP was approved during the Federal Executive Council meeting of December 3rd, 2025. As the 2026 budget of the federal government will be prepared based on the parameters and fiscal assumptions of the approved 2026-2028 MTEF and FSP, I seek the cooperation of the National Assembly for expeditious legislative action on this submission. Please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished senators, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Staying in the Red Chamber, a mild drama played out at the Senate during the screening of Ambassadorial nominee Reno Omokri by the Committee on Foreign Affairs. The committee proceedings took a chaotic turn when lawmaker Aline Dume moved the motion for the nominee to take a bow and go, citing his status as a former presidential aide. The motion sparked a brief row on the floor as Senator Adams Oshiomhole insisted on speaking before the decision was adopted, leading to a verbal exchange between the ranking senators. Despite the momentary tension, the committee eventually resolved to stand up and allowed Omokri to exit the screening without answering questions in line with parliamentary tradition. Recall that the Committee on Foreign Affairs has, over the last few days, been engaged in the screening of over 60 ambassadorial nominees sent to the Senate for confirmation. The list, which includes names of former governors, among others, has been the subject of public discourse.
The last among the nominees, Reno, is somebody that I personally know for the past 25 years, can vouch for his character. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I again want to move that these nominees take a bow and go. I so move.
I don't know this.
If you were, you don't know.
It should be seconded or
you don't know. It's not seconded.
Huh? Are you the
Who was the seconder?
I'm the seconder. I'm not the call.
Now,
there's a motion on
until you are called, you cannot shut me down.
No, he's not talking to you. He wasn't talking to you.
Let the chairman preside.
He wasn't talking to you. 1 minute.
These are people.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a motion on ground. You can either defeat the motion or let it survive. But
all right, so how come you have other people have spoken?
Senator Adams, he wasn't. Go ahead.
I have the authority of the chairman.
Please go ahead.
Chairman, you cannot exercise power that you don't have.
You don't exercise.
Chairman, I want to thank you, Senate leader and my colleagues. I cannot be intimidated by people who go here and there. After all, we see people on television questioning this list.
Please ask.
Mr. Chairman, sir.
The procedure is that if there is a motion on ground, then it should be seconded. If it is not seconded, it's dead.
My colleague Sagir Ibrahim covered the story and he joins in the studio. Sagir, you're smiling. Indeed. Well, let me exercise the powers that I have. According to Senator Oshomole. I mean, that moment, yes, I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are wondering when would the screening, apparently the screening has been going on behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. But what do you think of that, of that kind of process?
Well, thank you, Nyota. For me, I would say that the screening had started for the past 1 week. In fact, it started the very day that the Senate received the first set of letters, of course, from...
That had 3 names.
Indeed, that had 3 names. And, from time to time, they've been doing the screening, but behind closed doors. So journalists were not allowed, privy to some of these screening processes. But then for that of today, we saw Reno Omokri come. He took the stand and he was asked. Aliun Dume said that since he is somebody who is familiar to individuals who are there, I mean, he has known him for 25 years, he has served as a former presidential aide, so he was not an unfamiliar face to them, and as such, in line with parliamentary principles, he'd just take a bow and leave. But then Senator Adams Oshomole said, he really wants to ask some questions. But then it became an argument of whether it was in line with procedure and whether there was a seconder or not, and then we saw it degenerate.
I mean, looking at it from the point of view of the public, is it okay that questions are not asked to these people who are going to be representing Nigeria? What would you think the public will be thinking about this mode of screening representatives of the country? Potential representatives of the country?
I mean, these are questions that even are on the minds of we, journalists when we cover this. You'd recall just recently we had the screening of the retired Chief of Defense Staff and current Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, and also during that conversation, we saw a lawmaker in this same fashion rise to say, we've asked him enough questions, he's a familiar face, he should be allowed to take a bow and go. But then there was the question of the severity of the situation and whether in spite or in light of the security situation, the parliament or the Senate observes that tradition. So that was a sensitive situation. But then now we have ambassadors for the last 2 years or so. Nigeria has not had, ambassadors representing them at our various high commissions and all of that. So this now begs the question of whether it is okay based on familiarity, to raise the principle of take a bow and go in a situation where we've had the likes of Donald Trump accuse Nigeria of being a country of particular concern, genocidal killings and all of that. So I would say that in the end, the discretion rests on these lawmakers and of course on the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee to either accept or reject that motion.
Well, Sagir, I want to say thank you so much for coming to share this stuff with us. Let's hope that these men, when they eventually confirmed and posted, will represent the country effectively.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Talking about aids to ministers or presidents or governors, one of those is trying to clear the air, as it confirms, a former Labour Minister, Chris Nkige, his aide has been trying to clear the air as regards his whereabouts amid reports of his alleged abduction from his Abuja home. According to this aide, the former minister is in EFCC custody, not kidnapped. Fred Chukwe Ngige's aide dismissed the kidnap claims, confirming that the former minister is with the EFCC, but the agency is yet to comment on that. About 2 weeks ago, Dr. Ngige's convoy was attacked in Anambra, and he has previously faced ICPC questioning over alleged job racketeering and NSITF contract issues. Meanwhile, ex-Attorney General Abubakar Malami, senior advocate of Nigeria, is spending a third night in the EFCC custody after failing to meet bail terms, including surrendering his passport and producing 2 serving permanent secretaries as sureties. He's being investigated over alleged terrorism financing and 46 bank accounts, claims his aide calls false and politically driven. Let's talk a bit of security. The Police Service Commission, in partnership with the Nigeria Police, has begun the recruitment of 50,000 constables, part of President Tinubu's push to boost community policing and internal security. The move follows a national security emergency declared on November the 26th, 2025, directing agencies to expand manpower in response to growing threats. The applicants must be Nigerian by birth, aged 18 to 25, and medically fit. They need at least 5 credits, including English and math, in O-level, SSC, NECO, or equivalent in no more than 2 sittings. A minimum height is 1.67 meters for men and 1.64 meters for women. Now, residents of Sabon Birni local government area in Sokoto State are celebrating what they see as a major win against insecurity following the killing of Kachala Kalamu, a top lieutenant of the notorious terrorist Bello Turji by the Nigerian army. News Central visited Sabon Birni and Isa local government areas, strongholds of Kalamu and Turji, who remained on the region's most wanted list. Community leader Aliyu Gober confirmed Kalamu's death, along with some of his men. Kalamu, real name Musa, was linked to Tuareg warlords like Kachala Saidu Malam and the late Kachala Umaru Naguna. He reportedly led around 100 armed men known for kidnapping and attacks across Isa, Sabon Birni, Shinkafi, Goronyo, parts of Zamfara, and even into Niger Republic. Still talking security in the Federal Capital Territory, where the administration has assured the residents of adequate security ahead of the Yuletide season. The FCT Police Commissioner Dantawe Miller gave his assurance during the last Security Committee meeting, while commending the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike for his support to the security agencies within the capital.
The highlights of our meeting are basically the activation of Operation Sweep, which I'm sure so many of you are aware of, that kick-started yesterday. It was relaunched, and that is mostly done towards the end of the year. FCT Minister, His Excellency Nyesom Wike, in his wisdom, has provided adequate logistics for that operation.
We'll take a moment, and when we return, we'll be joined by Dr. Olumuji Peter, Secretary Command and Control Center of the FCTA. Please stay with us. Welcome back. I'm now being joined by Dr. Olumuji Peter, Secretary Command and Control Center of the FCTA. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're in the Yuletide season already. And some will say that about this time, it's as though there's usually an increase in crime. What are the plans to ensure that this is curbed in the FCT?
You know, the FCT is the capital of the nation, and as the capital of the nation, FCT is like a beautiful bride that you cannot just abandon. And one of the things we've been doing over time is that the FCT does not wait until the Yuletide season before reviewing and ensuring that the residents and the territory have a better security. We do it on a continuous basis. But the good thing again is that the current Minister of the Federal Capital Territory is someone that is always proactive. And that is why last week of November, he had an expanded security committee meeting, which has the regular security agencies, the Nigerian police, the DSS, the military, the civil defense. But the expanded security committee encompasses the area council chairmen, who are the people at the various grassroots, the religious leaders also as part of it. This body had to come together to review the security situation and forge a new security plan, especially for the Yuletide season. And after that, we have seen a lot of improvements, in the security network in the FCT. We have seen a lot of breakthroughs by the FCT Police Command, the arrest of the neutralization of bandits, the recovery of vehicles that have been stolen before now, and even kidnapped victims that have been rescued. And also, after that meeting, we also saw the launch of the Operation Sweep, which is a special joint operation that encompasses every security agencies.
That where they go raiding shanties and all of that.
Raiding shanties and the rest. And the way the Operation Sweep work, they are not just stationed at the city center. They cover the entire 6 area councils of the federal capital.
So are you saying that security in the FCT has improved, and this Yuletide season, there will be no excuse whatsoever?
In fact, those that have been in the FCT for the few years that the President Minister have been on the saddle of on the seat will attest that Yuletide season are always very, very safe for people to have fun, go to recreational centers, move at any point in time. And we are not just looking at the successes of the past, we're also trying to ensure that people get better security also this time around.
But then yesterday evening we drove around the city and we noticed that a lot of dark spots, street lights, a lot of places didn't have street lights. For instance, Utako, the street lights there were gone. The whole place was dark. And one wonders, the poles were there, but they were not on. Is it a question of no fuel or no solar panels or what? Or they have not been fixed?
Yes, the current administration have been trying to change from the traditional solar light system to the solar panel system. And if you those that have been in the FCT could attest now that you have the FCT is being light up. And there's this project that is going on light up the FCT. Even areas you do not expect to see street lights, which are solar paneled, they are also having it there. The area you've talked about at Uye, you raised a concern there, and I also, as I go back, I also let those who is in charge know about it. But the FCT administration in recent times have been able to lit up so many places in the FCT.
Before we let you go, I mean, having you here, we just need to ask, how soon would that project be revisited, the CCTV project? I know the National Assembly is looking into it, probing it, but would it be revisited real soon?
Well, when you talk about the CCTV project and that happened then during the past administration, you should also know that that project was not an FCTA project. It was not from FCTA. But the good news is that the minister presently is also working on ensuring that we have a CCTV coverage of the FCT, and that is in the pipeline already. So what the National Assembly is doing it does not have anything to do with the FCT administration. Well,
I didn't talk about the project. I'm talking about CCTV coverage in the FCT.
Yes, we have it has gone to an advanced stage already. And also there's this policy in the FCT that even residential houses, business entities should also install theirs. Because when you have all these things, it also helps the security network of the area.
All right, thank you so much. Dr. Olumuji Peter is the Secretary, Command and Control Center of this FCT. Thank you for coming in this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, Nigeria is making diplomatic efforts to secure the release of a C-130 military aircraft and 11 soldiers detained in Burkina Faso over alleged airspace violation. 3 days after what began as a precautionary landing, the situation has escalated into a tense standoff, raising concerns over regional military cooperation and sovereignty in the Sahel. Military sources confirm the soldiers are still in custody, with the case now handled by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Nigerian embassy in Ouagadougou has opened talks with Burkinabe authorities to secure their release. And we take a moment for this breaking story that's just come in. The Bayelsa State Deputy Governor, Senator Lawrence Oborawero Orodakwo, has died at the age of 60. The Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State was rushed to the hospital after he slumped in his office this afternoon. He was taken to the Federal Medical Center, Yenagoa, following the incident. He was born on September the 5th, 1965, and was a former federal lawmaker who served as Bayelsa's deputy governor since 2020. Details surrounding the incident are still emerging, and neither the Bayelsa state government nor his family has released an official statement at the time of this report. Now moving on, the Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi III, is blaming the political class for Nigeria's prolonged underdevelopment. His Eminence claims that the political elites are deliberately sabotaging the country's development while treating public office like their private family affair. While the former CBN governor argued that Nigeria's leaders routinely ignore real opportunities for national growth, he urged young Nigerians to reject a system he described as built on ethnic rivalries, religious conflicts, and personal aggrandizement. We'll take a moment and we will come back. We would be looking at other stories, but just before that, just want to remind you again of that breaking story of the deputy governor of Bayelsa State who was passed away today at the age of 65. He slumped in his office this afternoon and was rushed to the Federal Medical Center in Yanagua, but unfortunately, he lost his life. Our condolences to the family and friends of the Bayelsa State deputy governor. Details will be back in a moment, so stay with us. Welcome back. Nigeria's political space is narrowing fast as a wave of defections hits both state and national assemblies. Once a vibrant multi-party system, the opposition is now battling internal crisis and an identity test. Dozens of lawmakers and political figures have recently joined the ruling party, citing unresolved disputes, failed primaries, or a shift toward national interest. Analysts warn that this trend threatens Nigeria's multi-party democracy, weakening opposition voices critical for accountability. In some state assemblies, the ruling party now holds near total control. Civil society groups say this slow consolidation of power risks turning Nigeria into a one-party state, reducing citizens' choice, weakening checks on power, and stifling debate. If it continues into the next election, experts say democracy may survive in name, but real political competition could disappear. To further discuss this, I'm joined by Chief Peter Ame, National Secretary of the Coalition of United Political Parties. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
While I was reading through that document, you were seeing pictures of those who had decamped from the different parties all to the APC. Are we really going into a one-party system?
That's the intention of those who also are the central today. The APC.
Sorry, that's the intention.
That's the intention.
You are reading their mind already.
From all the antics and from all their, the cards they are putting on the table, what they want is a situation where they can drive Nigeria to a one-party state. Because they are looking at, their performance is very poor. Nigerians are not really excited about governance since the APC came in. There never been a way that the APC have tried its best to try to make sure that the common man have, 3 square meal the way it used to be. And the economy performed very poorly. So the best option is to twist the political, architecture of our country in a way that will now stiffen opposition, brazenly reduce the multi-party democratic system that we have through, the power of the state, using whatever state apparatus at their disposal.
But are you looking also at the various parties that seem not to be able to hold their own, seem not to be able to keep their house in order, so that, or giving room for those who are leaving to find reason to leave?
You can't say that. Look, I've been here in this party business, for party management system for a very long time, had a lot of opposition. What I'm saying is that whenever you have a government that is so, intentional about trying to undermine multi-party inclusive process, then you have this kind of challenge. No. Like, there's nothing in the party system, the mechanism that exists. Every party can solve their problem. They have organs, put in place from the state working committee, national working committee, the national executive committee, the national convention, and all the other congresses and primaries.
So why are they not solving their problems?
They can't solve it because they are agents already sponsored by government in power to make sure that this peace does not exist. Since I've been in party politics, I've never seen a situation where the police will go into a party secretariat or party headquarters and lock the 2 offices down. I was trying to submit later in the PDP headquarters yesterday. I went to the Zone 5 office and I went to the Legacy House. Both of them were locked down by the security agency. Why do you do that? This is a multi-party democracy. You must be able to allow the internal working of the system of the party to work within that structure and then find a solution to their problem.
So we do understand. In layman government, studying government, we heard that there are 3 tiers of government: legislature, the executive, and There is the legislature, there is the executive.
That's in theory in Nigeria.
That's in theory, not in practice.
Not in practice.
And the judiciary. So can't the judiciary help to resolve these matters?
The judiciary has actually worsened the situation. In one party issue, you will tell you that the political party issues are internal issues of the political party, and the parties should be able to resolve their issue. In another judgment and another pronouncement, even against the previous pronouncements of the court that says no party can, no court can suspend a convention already, put in motion. And you find out that more than two judgments came from Justice Omotoshop. Please, I hope I get the name correctly, but if I don't get it, I think it came from the court to say that the PDP cannot hold their constitution, that the constitution should be suspended. And that level of pronouncement of the court undermines their previous
and you're not seeing what the reasons for that court judgment, that the PDP needs to have state congresses, that they don't have enough state congress to even have the convention. You didn't see that?
They can't say that because apart from that, INEC is a registrar and a regulator of a political party. That's number one function of INEC, is to regulate the political party and then register more political parties, or even go to the third function of registering more political parties. But the clarity is that within the 21 days stipulated in the Constitution, in our laws, in the Electoral Act, the PDP have written to INEC. And INEC have not raised an objection. The court shouldn't be, managing our political party system, managing our elections, and also announcing election results and determining who becomes governor, who becomes president, and who becomes senator. There's a over-judicialization of our political atmosphere that is actually reducing the engagement that exists in political communication. Because if you have an internal system where party members are supposed to, gather, converge in a place, discuss the issue of the party, raise motions, counter motions, and then eventually raise a resolution of how they feel the dispute within their party should be resolved. Because apart from that, the party is self-insulated and can self-organize its own processes. It is very important that the court also know, and those working as agents of the people in government today knows, that we're all endangering ourselves. If we break down the opposition fabric that exists in this country, that will lead in breaking down the democratic fabric. Because what we need for opposition is for them, their political party out of power, equal to the size of the party in power. The only thing is that at a particular moment, there must be one party in power. And that party can only get to power, not just by receiving mandate forcefully, but also getting legitimacy from the citizens that will go to the ballot and cast their vote. But what we have today is that there's a clear attempt to undermine these processes, to find a shortcut process so that there will be one party state. But that will not happen in Nigeria. Because those who are interested in sustaining the democratic institution that have been handed over to us by the 1999 Constitution, we defend it at all costs. Because Nigeria, if you go to section 223 to 2210, is a multi-party democratic environment.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that's a good place to hang it there. Chief Peter Ame is the National Secretary of the Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP. Thank you for coming on this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And moving on, the Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has dismissed claims of a rift between him and lawmakers from the state, insisting reports of strained relations are unfounded. Governor Fubara addressed the speculations on Wednesday during the commissioning of the extended and dualized 28.4-kilometer Ahoda-Omoku Road. He said, contrary to insinuations that he was avoiding lawmakers, arrangement had already been concluded for a meeting with them. A session expected to be convened by the FCT Minister Nelson Wike, elder statesman Ferdinand Alabraba, and the other stakeholders. According to the governor, anyone alleging that he rejected proposals or declined to meet with the lawmakers is not telling the truth. Governor Fubara, who defected from the PDP to the APC on Tuesday, also called on the residents of Rivers to continue to support President Bola Tinubu.
A bold decision yesterday. I would also want to add this. I personally do not have any disagreement or any anger anywhere with my members of the National Assembly, even that of the state here. Let me be very particular. The state members of the House of Assembly, I do not have any issue with them. I have made every effort. I believe that the leadership of the State Council that is led by Chief Ferdinand Alabraba can attest to this. I've made every effort to meet with them. But the arrangement wasn't for me to call them directly. It was for my leader, the minister, to arrange the meeting, which up to this hour, that meeting has not been fixed. So when people go about saying, I don't want to meet them, so thing, I don't want to attend to them, I don't want to meet their demand, that is pure lie. I don't have any reason to do that. I personally said whatever is their need, whatever is things that they need, I'm ready to meet it so that we can have peace in the state. So please, I'm saying it here, this is a live television.
Meanwhile, the section of the People's Democratic Party led by Tani Muturaki has held its first National Working Committee meeting since the Ibadan Convention, a move seen as part of efforts to consolidate its claim to party leadership. The meeting brought together state chairmen amid growing tensions with the rival group aligned with the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. The meeting held at the Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja recorded at least 29 attendees who identified themselves as PDP state chairmen. The forum is chaired by the Edo State PDP leader Tony Azegbemi. In his remarks, Muturaki urged the chairman to present fresh ideas to reposition the main opposition party, insisting that the PDP under his leadership means business. He also downplayed the actions of the pro-Wike faction, including the recent inauguration of a caretaker committee led by Samuel Anyanwu, describing it as a distraction. To look at this further, I'm joined by Ini Ememobong, the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, glad to be here.
Okay, sorry, I didn't add the comrade. But your house appears to be at loggerheads with itself.
I'm glad you said appears. You know, there's a difference between appearance and substance, especially if you keep a mirror. What you see in the mirror may not be exactly what is here. And so it's an appearance, and it's an intended appearance, which is done by a small section of people who previously were in the party who wanted to appear or who wanted to seem as though the People's Democratic Party has factions, which is why when I heard a section of, you saw yesterday that clearly you had the Board of Trustees. And in case people don't know, the Board of Trustees is constituted and they exist for 5 years. And thereafter, so the constituted Board of Trustees, which is extant at the moment, was represented by their chairman, some of their members, today Professor Jerry Garner, and the rest. You saw the chairman of the state chapters. You saw the members of the House of Representatives. You saw the senators who were there. And in the evening, you saw the ex-officio members. So different organs of the party. You see, when you are relying on elite theory, which is where most of the political activities exist within that realm, it looks as though it is merely a battle of the elites. Now, the Turaki-led administration and the way to rebuild the PDP is to go back to how it was built at the beginning, which was power. The slogan is power to the people. And so the people made all of these people who became governors, senators, and the rest. And so now, having gotten to the point where we must admit that, yes, we are challenged. So what do? We go back to how we started, which is getting back power to the people. So we are shifting it from elite-based, elite theory, elite consensus. We are moving into getting to the people who matter, because a political party is merely the aggregation of the individual interest.
You know, I chose that word carefully when I said appears, and you wrote on that. Yeah. When I said appears, because the public, everyone is seeing now a caretaker committee set up, a convention produced, a leadership produced by a convention. On one side, we see a caretaker committee that has been set up by another section. I use the word section also was used carefully, by another section of your party. And you say it is all, is it a plan?
Okay, now.
Is it, no, I'm sorry, is it a plan that you guys are working out? Because your members are leaving. The most recent is the governor of Rivers State, who says your party did not protect him when he needed protection.
Well, I would like to sidestep the Rivers issue, because you do know that even if he says that our party could not protect him, it means he couldn't even protect himself. It means that even the party protected him more than he could protect himself. The only case on that his matter lying in the Supreme Court today was instituted by his PDP governors. Ask him what he did. I mean, so if you're not communicating with people, people cannot be more Catholic than the Pope. And so if people have come out voluntarily to support you before, and you told them, no, leave, it's about father and son, they supported you again. He said, no, you're even the people who are causing this problem. Do you think we're going to solve this thing by talking? And so if you say that we're going to solve it by keeping quiet, and so people have kept quiet, so how can you now turn around and accuse the people of not supporting you. The only case lying where the Supreme Court has reserved judgment today was instituted by governors of PDP states. It is a fact. That's the facts currently in existence. And so I don't know how much more support he wanted. But if he wanted the question, even God who created us says, ask and he shall receive, seek and he shall find, knock and it shall be opened. So the question is, as the deputy chairman of the PDP Governors Fund, who did he ask? Because I've spoken to a lot of leaders who have said they can't even reach him. He's not talking to anyone. But that's not the issue. Now the issue is this. In this whole place called News Central, there's the reception, there's the studio. And what people see, the people who sit at home see, they see what's happening in the studio. They don't see what's happening at the reception. So if whilst you're here, someone carries a phone because he has camera and video and does live video and sits outside, not even within your premises, sits somewhere outside and says, this is News Central reporting. And so people are watching, people know. You know, the truth is that people differentiate the truth from falsehood. They can see it. But sometimes they just engage because, I mean, the world is becoming very, very dull. So a lot of people take even the things politicians do for comedy. So when you look at it, you look at a political party and you see that it has succession. You see that Damagun took over from Ayu when Ayu left, and Damagun has handed over. You see the processes that led through to the convention. And you see that in the PDP constitution, which is online on INEC website, that there is no room for a national caretaker. And you recall that in 2016, when we had that challenge, you saw how we went through the national caretaker. And you now see people sit presumably somewhere acting drama, just like someone who sits outside News Central and does a video. I mean, the difference is clear.
We can leave it there. Thank you so much, Ini Ememobong, comrade, National Policy Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And we wish you well as you try to put your house together. We will take a moment and we will be back to look at other stories. Do stay with us. 3 Israelis have been deported from Ghana today in retaliation for what the Ghanaian authorities say is the deportation of Ghanaian citizens from Israel on Sunday. Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry announced on Wednesday that it would be deporting 3 Israelis from the country in retaliation for what it described as the ill treatment and unjustified deportation of 3 Ghanaian nationals by Israeli authorities. A press statement by Ghana's Foreign Ministry said on Wednesday that Israel denied entry to 7 Ghanaian travelers to Israel at Ben Gurion Airport on December 7 and subjected them to inhumane and traumatic treatment without justifiable cause. The ministry claimed that the cohort of travelers included 4 members of Ghana's parliament who were en route to the annual International Cybersecurity Conference in Tel Aviv. M23 fighters combed the streets of Uvira in eastern DR Congo a day after taking over strategic parts of the eastern city near Burundi. Businesses have been closed for several days and only a few motorcycles were out in the streets while sporadic shots still rang out. Locals say about 10 bodies were collected from the streets between Wednesday and Thursday, as it did in 2 provincial capitals, Goma and Bukavu, seized in January and February after a lightning offensive. The M23, backed by Rwanda and its army, is seeking to take control of neighborhoods in Uvira, where militia who have not already fled have taken refuge. And Amnesty International has issued its most serious accusations yet against Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups, saying they committed crimes against humanity during and after the October 7th attacks on Israel. The new report also renews Amnesty's charge that Israel's response in Gaza amounts to genocide, an allegation Israel strongly denies. For News Central, senior international correspondent Afua Hagen report.
Amnesty International is, for the first time, accusing Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups of crimes against humanity, including extermination, during and after the October 7th attacks on Israel. In a new 173-page report released on Thursday, Amnesty says Palestinian fighters carried out mass killings of civilians, violations of international humanitarian law, and what it defines as crimes against humanity, when they stormed communities in southern Israel on October 7, 2023. Amnesty says the scale of the killing that day amounts to extermination and points to an explicitly stated plan by Hamas and other groups to seize and hold hostages. The organization says abuses continued in captivity, including mistreatment of hostages and withholding bodies of those killed. It lists murder, torture, enforced disappearance, rape and other forms of sexual violence amongst the crimes committed, although it notes it was only able to interview one survivor of sexual assault and cannot determine the full scope. Hamas's assault killed 1,221 people, with 251 taken hostage, including 44 who were already dead. Of the 207 hostages taken alive, Amnesty says 41 died or were killed in captivity. All hostages have since been returned under the current ceasefire, except for the body of one Israeli officer. The report says Hamas were chiefly responsible with Islamic Jihad, and unaffiliated civilians were also involved. Last year, the International Criminal Court applied for arrest warrants for senior Hamas leaders, but withdrew them after all three were killed in Israeli operations. Amnesty has also accused Israel of genocide in its military campaign in Gaza, an allegation Israel calls false, fabricated and based on lies. The ICC has active arrest warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes and crimes against humanity during the conflict. According to Gaza's health ministry figures, which the UN deems reliable, Israel's retaliation has killed more than 70,000 people, and Amnesty warns that despite the ceasefire, it believes Israel is still committing genocide. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the seizure of a large oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast. The vessel, identified as the oil tanker Skipper, was taken by U.S. forces in the Caribbean Sea. Officials say the tanker had been transporting oil subject to long-standing U.S. sanctions and was part of an illicit shipping network. The Venezuelan authorities strongly condemned the move, describing it as theft and international piracy. Officials in Caracas insist the seizure violates Venezuela's sovereignty and have vowed to take their complaint to international bodies. And Business Zaria Group Foundation is launching a major new initiative aimed at reshaping economic opportunities across African communities. It's called the Sahara Community Impact Project, or SCIP, and is expected to empower thousands of small businesses and entrepreneurs across the continent. Business Desk lead Nasir Agbalaya reports.
Entrepreneurship is how we term
the Sahara Community Impact Project, as announced by the Zaria Group Foundation, is set to accelerate economic transformation in communities across Africa. SCIP is aimed at creating specialized community business hubs that support local entrepreneurs in sectors such as agriculture, craftsmanship, trade, services, and emerging innovations. These hubs will provide shared production facilities, reduce business costs, improve product quality, and build export readiness.
The move we're making here is to see how we can recover the capacity of niche communities where we know they're known for certain businesses, and we can then move into those communities, create hubs, grow those communities, and make them even extra in terms of what they produce and how they can sustainably make what they produce, feed them, make money from it, and enhance their businesses.
The foundation is calling on media partners, community leaders, and stakeholders to help amplify the initiative and ensure maximum impact. Director, Zaria Group Foundation, Chidilem Menekaya, adds that the initiative will also offer training in entrepreneurship, financial literacy, branding, and digital skills. Through Sahara's entrepreneurship model, the project aims to drive job creation, reduce waste, and boost long-term business sustainability.
In terms of ensuring that we fund some of these projects and we fund the businesses that, are under an entrepreneurial network. We do fund internally, as you are aware, right, through the Sahara Impact Fund. And when we fund, it has no interest rates or any of that. What we give you is what we give you.
Sahara Foundation says the pilot phase will begin in Nigeria, serving as a blueprint for wider adoption across Africa. Applications will open in early 2026, with selected entrepreneurs gaining mentorship and support aligned with SCAPE's developmental goal.
We're happy to go with some journalists when we have the maturity of this project to showcase some of the success stories and impact we've made. For us, like I said, it's all about impact.
SCAPE officially rolls out in January 2026, and Sahara Group Foundation says it expects the project to become a catalyst for grassroots economic growth across the continent. In Lagos for News Central, Nasir Agbalaya.
And that's it on the 6th edition for today. Here's a recap of the major stories. President Tinubu seeks National Assembly's approval of the 2026-2028 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. Nigeria intensifies diplomatic efforts to secure release of soldiers and C-130 military aircraft. And Ghana deports Israelis in retaliation for alleged mistreatment of its nationals. Remember, you can send us your eyewitness report, as in what's going on around you. Send it to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV on all the platforms. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Thank you for watching. I'm Neo Taibe. See you tomorrow.